This is it right here.
Combining a team of reporters, columnists, and commentators.
Don't you ever talk about me!
Are you serious?
Jack Ebling has brought thought-provoking discussion.
What are you doing?
That's a damn coaching mistake!
Opinion.
The customer is the one who decides when the future gets here.
Oh, no!
The ship is on fire!
You have to check the report.
Are you kidding me?
That game was fixed.
And overall infotainment.
I'll take Jim Harbaugh.
What has he done?
Great! Scooter coming at you.
Quiet, please. In exactly 15 seconds, we'll be on the air.
Thanks, big fella.
Don't you ever come back here again!
No arguments. Those are called ass tunes.
So buckle up.
You talking to me?
It's time for The Drive with Jack Ebling.
Yeah, for some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Great afternoon, Mid-Michigan and beyond, and welcome to The Drive with Jack, the Spotlight Radio Network. Jack Ebling in studio today, 105 West Allegan, and you can catch us on YouTube, here with my producer, Boston Rob. Rob, a very windy afternoon, all of a sudden 80 degrees and gusts up to 30 miles an hour means that I'm not the only one full of hot air here in downtown Lansing today.
I gotta say, I didn't get the memo, but apparently it's Orange Shirt Day here at Spotlight Media, because I got the old creamsicle Tampa Bay Buccaneer polo shirt on.
Did that for you. I thought Mike Allstott might walk in.
Oh man, that would be amazing. Yes.
Yeah, we do not have a dress code here, and we do not exchange memos. This is not like Jason Benetti and Andy Dirks or Dan Petrie, right, where they all show up color-coded. We don't do any of that. So, that's
it just so happens. It just so happens on a Tuesday.
Yes, yes. And we have a great show planned for you. We're going to have Tom Lang here for another episode of The Long Drive. And John Duffy is going to join us, one of the most amazing men I know. He was the CEO of Six Flags, and now he's into 18 Flags as the owner, proprietor of Hidden River Golf up in Brutus, Michigan. It's a double Sean day. We're going to have Sean Windsor of the Detroit Free Press with us, Jim Cotter, Michigan State pitcher, outstanding pitcher back in the Kirk Gibson days, and then a long distinguished career as director of admissions, and Tom Shanahan, sports historian and award-winning author. You probably know about Ray of Light. In fact, is another printing of that, and much, much more. He has a great historical story about Duffy Daugherty, Bob Devaney, Chuck Fairbanks, you name it, and the second game of the century in a span of 5 years. But we want to open the show with my buddy Sean Baligian, one of the most versatile voices you will find anywhere in radio and television. Outstanding work in play-by-play, all sports at all levels, tremendous in talk show hosting, kicked ass on both sides of the state, one of our favorite guests here and on Press Pass, and Rob, one of just 3 guest hosts on Press Pass. He did such a good job on July 5th. When I got home from Boston on that cross-country trip with my son and his family, I thought I might get Wally pipped. I said, keep hearing what a great job Sean did. And then I watched it, and I said, okay, I guess that's what I expected. That's why I asked him if he would do it. And Sean, thank you so much for that. When you have a baby like Press Pass, right, and you take a lot of pride in it, and then you let it go, even for a week, you want to be sure it's in good hands. And that much I knew.
I would go 0 for 4, and I'd probably pay 3 times. So don't worry about that, Jack.
We could talk about so many topics today. I want to start with the Tigers. And in Chicago, I actually know 3 people, including Scott and Kathy Berman from One North, who were there last night at Wrigley Field. And therefore, the Tigers, 8-6 win. The Dylan Dingler show did just about everything you could do as a major league catcher. And we saw Riley Green hit a 3-run homer and then have a line shot off the pitcher's ankle, which really changed the game. It's 1 out of 162, Sean, but how important was it for the Tigers to get that win?
Yeah, it was, and there were so many little things in it. Kenley wiggling out of that jam in the ninth.
Yeah.
I mean, Jack, come on, everybody was going to bed. You knew what was going to happen, right? Especially when it got to the 3-0 count on Bregman, and it's a big win. There's no doubt about it. I still. It's funny, I was talking to Rob before we came on, and the Red Sox have won 14 straight, and Rob is still not feeling it.
I know.
I'm in that position right now. They're 6 games out of 500 through 100 games, and I don't have confidence. I really don't, and I know they went 31-13 a couple years ago, but when a team's kind of been doing this for so long. I think, Jack, you and I were talking about this off the air. I think 84 is kind of the magic number. I think you got to get to 84 if you want to think about making the postseason. And that means the Tigers have to go 37-25 in their last 62. Can they? Of course they can. But I just think I think there's too much inconsistency with the bats, and that bullpen is a mess. It really is. So I think they're going to be up against it.
Yeah, as you mentioned, they are at the 100-game mark, so 62 left. And if you want to cash a ticket, Sean, on the preseason over-under for the Tigers, which was 96.5, it ended at. And maybe you got it a little under that, but if it was 96.5, to get to 97, that means you have to go 40-22 in the last 62 games. The Tigers would love to do that, but as you say, you can get in as a wild card. And then, are you healthy? Are you hot? We've seen the Tigers the last 2 years come roaring back in the second half in 24 and starting on fire in 25 and then going right into the toilet. But both of those seasons ended one pitch away from the ALCS. And if you look at this starting pitching, you might think they could do the same thing, but I do not trust this bullpen, and I still don't like the hitting. I wonder what they're going to do if they lose a couple here. Are they going to bail with Tarik Skubal, with Gleyber Torres, even with Casey Mize? I understand his injury is not quite as bad as some people feared initially. What direction are the Tigers going to go?
Jack, unless you think in the bottom of your heart the Detroit Tigers have a chance to win a World Series, you have got to trade Tarik Skubal. You have to trade Tarik Skubal. You have the golden ticket, not a golden ticket. You have the golden ticket, and this is a name your price type of scenario, and you cannot afford for him to walk away whenever this season is done for a comp pick. You just can't. I would legitimately. The one good thing that we could say about this team is there is the starting pitching. And obviously, Montero's been a gift. He really has. And obviously, you got to like what young Melton is showing and everything. But you cannot let this guy walk away from nothing. And I think even the most diehard Tiger fan, I think there isn't one human being that would say the Tigers have a chance to win the World Series. Because, look at all the grit and scrapping that they showed just to get to the point that they did. And, oh, by the way, you need 8 more wins on top of that if you're talking about a World Series. So, if it were me, what decision are you going to make on Casey Mize? You're going to try to are you going to try to re-sign him next year? Well, that number's probably going to start with a 2. It really is, as in $20 million. And if you're not, then you think about dealing him too. But this is not a World Series team. I mean, Jack, for what it's worth, if I were a betting man, and I'm not, I really don't think they make the playoffs. I hope I'm wrong. There's nothing like October baseball in Comerica Park. But, if it's me, I think you have to sell. With all these nice pieces that they have, these young pieces, sell, see what you can get out of it, and load up again for next year and beyond.
Sean, I get the argument that the idea is to win the World Series, not to be first runner-up. Certainly the Tigers know that from a couple of World Series appearances that left a bad taste in people's mouths here in the 21st century. But if that is the standard and you don't think you can win, then I would think that at least 25 teams in Major League Baseball should be selling, because the Dodgers are so good and so deep that the only teams that I would think would have a real shot against them, maybe the Brewers, if they handle things right at the trade deadline, maybe the Braves, maybe the Rays and Yankees, but those are the only four. Otherwise, everyone should be throwing their cards in, because the Dodgers are that good. The problem is that for the Dodgers, we saw this last year, and they needed extra innings in Game 7 and a couple of incredible breaks to beat Toronto, or they would have been the biggest disappointment we'd seen in a long time. So in a short series, not to say the Dodgers don't have someone who can go out there and throw a shutout too, but if you have the Tigers starting pitching in a short series and you have more rest days, so maybe you don't have to rely quite as much on the bullpen, could you get a break in a series like that? You'd have to win a bunch to get there, but every team would be in that position. I'm just so tired in this town, Sean, of people playing for 5 years down the road, 7 years down the road. Prospects. Fred Heumann always says, upside can't play. And I get it. You want to build your organization, but I frankly don't have enough confidence in the people who are going to be building the organization to think that they're going to fleece the Dodgers or the Yankees or the incredibly well-run Brewers if that's who they're dealing with.
Oh, listen, in that regard, I couldn't agree with you more. I don't have a lot of confidence in Scott Harris. I think that Scott has shown that he's a very good scout. Yeah. I think that Scott has shown that he's got a good eye for talent. But when you look at some of his signings, when you look at the trade deadlines, I think he's 0 for 3 at trade deadline. Yeah. There was the Erod situation 3 years ago. 2 years ago was the Flaherty trade where you got Lorenzo and Sweeney, and then got a less than Flaherty back for a higher rate. And then last year, obviously, was Finnegan and the disaster that was Paddock and Charlie Morton. And that, in essence, made the team worse. That helped speed up the collapse down the second half. But no, Jack, I agree with you in that regard. I just think, and I think we've seen this in the playoffs the last couple of years, especially the way that AJ runs his staff. In a perfect world, if you said to Casey Mize, Casey, we need 7 innings out of you, go. Mm-hmm. Okay? AJ just doesn't seem apt to do that. Yeah. He just doesn't. Same thing with Tarek Skubal. Hey, Tarek, how you feeling? Well, listen, can you give me one more inning? Mm-hmm. If I felt that AJ was the manager that said, you know what, Casey, we believed in you all year. We want 7 innings out of you. Well, I'm sticking with you. That's the way it's going to go. If it was a scenario like that, I think I'd think twice because, Jack, I don't know if you feel, I don't think there's a monster in the AL. I really don't. With all due respect to what Tampa's doing and the Yankees are the Yankees, I don't think there's that monster in the AL. But I think that's one thing that if I had to pick something that kind of agitates me about A.J. Hinch, especially when you think of the shortcomings in this bullpen, it's not allowing his guys to grind it out a little more. Right. And I think we've seen that a little too much the last couple of years. I agree. And I think that when you have Tarek Skubal last year leaving after 99 pitches, people wanted more. He said, hey, it's the manager's call. He wasn't going to dispute it. Some people said that he wanted out of the game. I've been told that's absolutely untrue. But if he knows that this is the end in Detroit, and A.J. Hinch knows this is the end in Detroit, and Tarek Skubal has 95 pitches in the 7th inning, are you going to want him to throw another 10 to 12 pitches? Or are you going to want to bring in Drew Summers and Kyle Finnegan to pitch 3 innings? I'm going to say 100%. Tarek, let's see what you got, big boy. This is it. Yeah. This is your legacy moment. 100%. And in particular for me, it's Casey Mize. Sometimes it almost seems like there's still training wheels on a guy who's 28, 29 years old. I don't quite understand it, but that's the way that AJ manages. It's the long held thing. You can disagree sometimes with a manager overthinking the game at times, but still be on. Like, I'm Team AJ. It's pretty hard to deny. It's the proof's in the pudding, but that doesn't mean you have to agree with him across the board. And
right.
So I get it in that regard that when you put all these things together, there isn't a monster in the American League.
Yeah.
I just think with the shortcomings elsewhere on this team, in particular the bullpen and those inconsistent bats. I mean, you just don't know. It's almost a night-to-night basis.
Right.
Which Kerry Carpenter are you going to get? Are you going to get the Kerry Carpenter who's raking every third at bat, or the guy that we're currently seeing right now? What's he on, an 0 for 25 and a walk spell or something like that? So there's just so much of that with this lineup, even with the addition of McGonigal and as you mentioned, Dingler. And Jack, you and I were talking about, I don't think enough is being said about Dylan Dingler. I think everybody's oohing and ahhing over McGonigal, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't, but I don't think enough is being said about Dylan Dingler.
We were talking last night about Dingler's season. Too early to talk about a career, obviously. It's just getting going. But in terms of a single season, I'd put it up against anything I saw from Bill Freehan, against anything from Lance Parrish, against Pudge as a Tiger. Ivan Rodriguez with the Rangers was the best defensive catcher in baseball and an awesome hitter as well. But just as the Tigers, I think you have to go all the way back to Mickey Cochran to find anyone who have a season to match this. And someone said to me, you're always bitching about the Tigers' lack of offense, and not just because Jahmai Jones went to Boston and hit a home run right away. But, just the idea that Tigers, they don't scare you. Said, Spencer Torkelson had the worst batting average in Major League history, okay, going back to the first recorded stats. Worst batting average with the bases loaded. So what does he do last night? Bases loaded. He comes up. He gets a 2-run single. These things can change. I don't think Kerry Carpenter is going to go hitless for the rest of the year, although it kind of looks like it sometimes. And, you just got Torres back, and the idea is you're going to get Javi Baez back. He's on a rehab stint, for better or worse. But when you think about that, the Tigers haven't really been the Tigers that Gary Gillette said we're going to win the World Series. We haven't seen that team yet. And I think Skubal is still rounding into form.
I would love to buy in. I think after 100 games, what are they? 19th in OPS, and the on base isn't good, and there's just so many variables.
That's right.
Like Jack, the game that we went to, that Houston series, you just don't know what you're getting out of these guys.
Right.
It's incredible. It's a roller coaster. I was telling my son last night. I was going to check out last night. I was like, I'm tired. I'm just tired, and I wasn't tired physically. I think I was more tired mentally from watching this team because, you watch the first inning and you're like, okay, here we go, and, water kind of seems to find its level, and that's my concern about this team. I don't want to see Tarik Skubal walk away from nothing. I don't. You take a look at like the Angels and watching Ohtani walk away, and they're still a franchise that's just flailing all over the place. And I'm not saying that the Tigers are going to flail because, obviously there's some good young talent in there. Jack, I think if I had more optimism about where this season could go, I would think long and hard about it. I'll say it again. If I were a betting man, I don't think they make the playoffs. I really don't.
Do you think they will move Skubal? We talked about what they should do, but what about what they will do? I saw a Free Press story today that said that they're thinking of keeping him, and you get all sorts of different opinions. Yours makes a lot of sense, but what do you think Scott Harris is going to do? He's been so hesitant to pull the trigger.
I don't think he will. I really don't. Jack, I don't think he will. And I know, where did I read it just a couple hours ago? I think it was Jeff Passan from ESPN. He said he's going to go. I don't think Scott's going to do it. I really don't. I think he's going to, keep the eggs in the basket. Let's see what happens. This is a guy that, for his credit, Jack, I'm a firm believer. A lot of times, if you take the time to listen to what a general manager says, he basically tells you what his thought process is. And, this is a guy at the end of last season. He said, I don't look at this team as being in a window right now. I don't believe in being in a window. So I don't think his mindset is there. Yeah. If they lose Tarek Skubal, he feels he's got the pieces in place to keep the train on the track, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't think he looks at this as, let's go all in or let's save for the future or anything. He's just saying, hey, we got a chance. So if I were a betting man, and again, I'm not, I have a feeling that Tarek Skubal is here in late September. I really do.
Wow. I had a kind of a nightmare about a week ago. Sean, I woke up and I saw Tarek Skubal pitch a perfect game this year. But it was for the Dodgers against the Tigers.
Oh, I don't even want to think about that. Going all Don Larson on us, huh? Nobody needs that. So, hey, and it's funny, the Brewers are kind of that team. Remember they made that move for CC Sabathia, knowing full well he wasn't going to stay there. But, let's see what happens and everything. Maybe a team like that, or dare I say the Rays makes a strong pitch. But, no, I have a feeling this is a sink-or-swim situation for the Tigers. And, obviously I hope they make it. I mean, there's no doubt about that. There's just something really special about baseball in October.
Our guest is Sean Baligian. You're used to hearing him. You can see him on Press Pass, Woodward Sports, of course, state champs. Incredible work with that organization. It really has a great niche in terms of the high schools. Sean, I would be remiss if I didn't give you a quick opportunity to talk about what's happening 63 miles down the road. And I said earlier today, I'm not an attorney. And I would never be given a chance to represent a coach or athletic director at the University of Michigan. But I would love to take a chance in court defending Ward Manuel if Michigan tries to fire him with cause. First of all, you have the president standing up 3 months ago calling him the greatest athletic director in the country. I mean, Don Cannon must have rolled over in his grave on that one. And then after they fire the guy, they say, well, there's nothing really terrible here, but we got things we got to clean up, so we're going to fire him. But we're going to let him coach we're going to let him be the athletic director to the end of the year. It's nothing so egregious that he can't finish out the last 5 months. And after that, we want him to be a special advisor and consultant to the president. How many people get fired and get promoted?
I can't wait to see what that buyout consisted of. I'm sure that'll come to light someday, Jack. But it's interesting because I think when you talk to the old school Michigan fans that grew up, like you said, under Don Canham, and I don't think Canham gets enough credit for creating what Michigan is today. I really don't, Jack. I don't know if you and I have ever had that conversation, but. This is unbelievable what it's turned into. It must have, blown past his wildest dreams. When you talk to guys like Tom Crawford, winning at any cost is not good with them.
That's right.
They a lot of them were the guys that did keep the moral high ground. You talk to the younger fans and they don't care. They don't care about leaders and best. They don't care about those.
Just win, baby.
It's easy for them to. Yeah, exactly. And it's easy for them to say that now because these were the same people that were talking about tattoos down at Ohio State and gold coats and all that stuff. So, sure, it's easy for them to say that now. But when you think of the Michigan athletic program, Jack, just in our life, just the last 3 years, they have a football national championship and a basketball national championship. And that's on Ward Manuel's watch.
Yeah.
It's amazing when you think of all the success that they've had, and Lord knows they've thrown their chest out there even when they weren't having a great amount of success, and they were Michigan and you weren't. It's funny when you think about it. It's in this era that, to put it mildly, is under suspicion. So, the new generation, they just want, as the kids say, they just want the chip. That's right. It seems like that's the only thing that matters to them.
Well, if they're going to be the leaders and best, then they can't also be the cheaters and less. And I just got a message from our buddy Dustin Rademacher, a regular listener to this show, and you know Dan Wetzel from Yahoo. He's one of the most brilliant minds in sports media, and he just wrote a column. I can't wait to read it. Michigan should have just run this investigation through AI, and they could have done the whole thing and saved $12 million.
Yeah, they could have. Just what the funniest thing is when they had the Regents meeting and they had the audio and the audio wasn't working. Like, come on, but they know more often than not people, their constituents, people behind the blue wall are just they're gonna go along with what they say. That's right. I mean, that's the way that it's always been, and why change now? They don't have to answer to anybody else. They can just throw out their bet shirts and Michigan against everybody shirts, and there's a conspiracy against Michigan and all those things, and people are going to buy it. That's just the reality of the situation.
Sean Baligian, our guest. Sean, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Always a pleasure, my friend.
Johnny B. We'll be right back, and our Long Drive segment with Tom Lang, brought to you by Hidden River Golf and Casting, and we have a very special guest, John Duffy, who has an awful lot to do with things happening at Michigan State in terms of being a respected voice. And he also is unbelievably generous. Rob, I respect generous people, okay? I don't judge people on how much money you make. I judge them on how much you give away. And John Duffy is one of those people who understands causes. And I've seen him work for year after year after year with NPH USA, the Shinsky Orphanage, and all these orphanages across North Central and South America. Just incredible work. We'll be right back with that and much more coming up on The Drive with Jack.
Just minutes from Petoskey, Harbor Springs, and Mackinac City, golfers will find Northern Michigan's hidden gem on Maple River Road in Brutus, the Hidden River Golf and Casting Club and Travato Restaurant.
The course offers one of Northern Michigan's most memorable golf experiences, and Travato completes your day with exceptional dining. For tee times and dinner reservations, go to hiddenrivergolf.com.
That's hiddenrivergolf.com.
Dean Transportation is looking for compassionate people to join our team of school bus drivers and attendants. Visit deanjobs.com to see all openings. Dean Transportation provides paid training to obtain a commercial driver's license, increased starting pay, comprehensive benefits, and flexible schedules with no weekend shifts. No experience needed. Apply today at deanjobs.com and train for back to school season. That's DEAN jobs.com.
Jeremy, it's finally patio season.
About time. And not just any patio, Amy. One North patios.
We're talking sunshine, cold drinks, and that perfect I should have left work early vibe.
Lansing, East Lansing, Jackson, each one has got its own patio personality.
Whether it's brunch in the sun, happy hour with friends, or late night cocktail under the lights.
It just hits different outside.
Great food, craft drinks, and plenty of space to kick back.
So grab your crew and claim your spot.
One North Kitchen and Bar, your table's waiting. Outside.
Let's go.
So, it's been a while since you've had your jewelry cleaned and inspected, right? Where will you go and who will you trust with your most valuable and treasured heirlooms? At Meadowar Jewelers' 4 locations in Lansing, Okemos, Jackson, and Portage, jewelry isn't just our job, it's our passion. Each and every piece entrusted in our care is thoroughly inspected by our trained staff against damage or normal wear. And we offer you, our customer, the highest level of quality on repairs and custom designs. Whether it's worn out prongs, channels, or shanks, it's all handled with incredible care. Meadowar Jewelers in Lansing, Okemos, Jackson, and Portage want to help you preserve your memories and offer you options on creating new ones. Come in today for the cleaning and inspection of your jewelry. We continue to work hard every day to earn your confidence and trust.
Jack Ebling here with my good friend Matt Sloan at Graf of Okemos. Spring is here, and so is good news for lease customers.
You got that right, Jack. Pretty exciting news, both at Nissan and Chevy. We have a lease pull-ahead starting right now. So if you're bored with your lease, too many miles, close to too many miles, you just want to get out because of a high payment, bring it in. We'll get you out of your lease and get you into something more exciting.
Stop and see Matt and the gang at Graf of Okemos. They're making friends. Welcome back. It is The Drive with Jack, the Spotlight Radio Network. Jack Ebling here with my producer, Boston Rob, and my co-host for The Long Drive. That would be Tom Lang of MIGolfJournal.com. Tom, how are you?
Doing great.
Here we are getting into the second half of July.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing how fast the golf season goes.
Just flies by.
Yeah,
flies by.
Absolutely. We have a lot to talk about, including some centennial anniversaries, right?
Well, our show last week, we mentioned 100-year-old golf courses that I like to write stories about anywhere in Michigan. And they're spread out across the UP and lower Michigan. But right here in our backyard in Lansing is Groesbeck Golf Course. It is 100 years this year. And down the road...
It's your home course.
It is. It was the course I grew up on as a child. Absolutely loved it. And also down the road in Charlotte, Maplebrook is 100 years old.
Maplebrook. I've never played that.
It's a 9-holer. It was developed as the Charlotte Country Club.
Oh, okay.
And,
now I know it.
Okay. And it was always 9 holes and still is. So what I found intriguing was...
They just play it twice, right?
Several years ago, they added some tees.
Oh.
So they changed up the length of some holes. A couple of holes, they pushed the tees off to the side so you could attack the green and go down the fairway at a different angle, stuff like that. And that's how some people play it. And I found it to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I have a story on it and Groesbeck in my current July magazine.
How many courses, Tom, do that where they have 9 greens, but they have different launch points and try to turn them into different holes? Is that easier to do?
Most courses did not go that route because even though the majority of courses in the United States that were developed in the original years started with 9.
Okay.
Then if they had land nearby, they'd buy it if they wanted to go up to 18 or whatever.
When did that happen? When did 9-hole courses go out?
A wide variety of between the 1950s and, even late last century. So there were some courses even adding their second 9 in the 1980s, even if they were 100 years old now. So it took them a long time for some people. And if the land's not available.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a 9-hole course. I'm drawing a blank on where it was. That they wanted to expand. Oh, it's on the freeway between Lansing and Flint, the Holiday Meadows. It was,
really?
Yeah, it was built and designed by a guy who graduated from Michigan State's turf school.
Okay.
And it's developed into a holiday park. People can park their trailers or their...
off of 69.
Yeah, it's on the right side, so it's on the south side.
Closer to Perry or closer to Flint?
Past Perry, but before you get to Flint. And I just played it recently. I'm going to write about it in the near future. The person working the desk told me they wanted to expand to 18 holes and talk to the farmer nearby for land, but when he figured out why they wanted it, he quadrupled the price. So it stays 9, and it's pretty cool. But even there, they've got one hole where it's a long par 5. It wraps around some water. And some people play it from the back of the second tee, so it plays more straight than a dogleg right. Just to be different in their leagues, they come up with different ideas.
Right.
But that whole concept you just said about limited greens, that's what the Loop is designed for up in Roscommon.
Right. Play backwards or forwards.
Yeah, 18 greens, 18 greens, but 36 tee boxes. So you can play the same course rotating back and forth.
Yeah.
It's like clockwise on certain days, even days of the week or something like that.
Yeah.
And counterclockwise the other days. So that kind of thing's been done. But, yeah, I mean, I was just kind of embarrassed with myself last week that I forgot about Groesbeck, and it was right here in my backyard. It's the one I played as a kid all the time.
How many courses do you know in the state of Michigan that have double greens that you see a lot in Great Britain?
You mean where there's two pins in one large green?
A gigantic green with two pins.
Well, there's Eldorado up in Cadillac has that for sure.
Uh-huh.
Just a rough guess, I'd say maybe 2% of all the golf courses. It's not a really common design.
Okay.
I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I have no knowledge if it's easier for the superintendents to take care of it because they're just mowing one big green compared to picking up and going to a second green. It's probably slightly easier.
We talk a lot about golf courses and the number of opportunities, the holes per capita in the state of Michigan, and how Michigan is on that national list.
And you usually have a question I can't answer, but go ahead.
What about new course construction? How much new golf are we getting? Or do we pretty much have what we're going to have?
No, there's still new construction going on, but a lot of times it's just replacing the numbers of courses that have closed for whatever reason. So like there's a new one announced just a few weeks ago up at Kingsley Club in Kingsley, Michigan, which is just a half hour south of Traverse City. It's a private club, and all my knowledge is it's going to stay private.
Okay.
But Core and Crenshaw are going to design a second 18, and they are clearing the trees for that right now.
Okay, in my never-ending quest to ask you questions that are unfair and unanswerable, how many golf courses are there in the state of Michigan, roughly?
Roughly 840.
And how many are private?
About 100.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the vast majority
absolutely
you can play.
We have the most public courses than any state in the country. We have fewer courses than Florida, Texas, and California, but they have so many private ones, we lead the country in public courses.
People assume a lot of times that the best courses are private.
They assume that, I think.
And maybe that's a fair statement, and you certainly can't walk up and say, I want to play Augusta National. But you can at Pebble Beach.
You can, for a hefty
That's
price.
Right.
I think it's approaching $1,000, but
is
I don't
it
know.
now?
Well, it's like $500, but you have to stay in their lodging the night before or the night of to qualify to get a tee time. So they get you with the room and the greens fees.
When I played it in 1986...
stop it.
I think... I like to just throw that in there every once in a while, yeah. I think it was just over $300.
I believe it.
But I didn't have to stay there. Didn't have to stay...
Yeah, that's a new rule.
17-mile drive, so...
But speaking of quality of conditions in public courses, I would say Eagle Eye is right up there.
Yeah.
And I've been told... I'm not speaking for Eagle Eye, but I've been told by several sources that they basically make their money on their meetings and their weddings and their banquets. All the money that comes in from green fees goes back into conditioning the course.
Wow.
And that's more than private clubs give it financially.
And you've talked about courses that shut down for a day, right?
Well, at Shanty
Creek.
Creek.
That rotation.
Yeah.
Right?
Shanty
So they do that?
Yep, they do that. And that's just really smart. That gives a lot of rest for the grass and time for the grounds crew to work on them.
Well, when we talk about quality, a name that I always associate with that is our next guest. And no matter what he does, I assume it's going to be done exceptionally well. I also know him from his generosity as a major benefactor for the Shinsky Orphanage and his role at Michigan State. If you drive down Shaw Lane, you see the John and Becky Duffy practice facility.
Cool.
I want to welcome in John Duffy, proprietor from Hidden River Golf and Casting. John, how are you?
Great, Jack. How are you? Hello to Tom.
Howdy.
Want to talk to you a little bit about Hidden River, because for a lot of people, maybe it's been a little hidden, but in terms of what it offers, the people I know who have been there, who have played it, have come back and said, put this on your must-do list. What can you tell us about the property?
Well, it is a beautiful course cut through the woods of northern Michigan.
Brutus,
and
right?
we're about, Brutus, Michigan. Yeah. And we are roughly 20 minutes from Petoskey, Harbor Springs, Mackinac, Sheboygan. So we're in a great location, easy to get to. And, I tell people, if you're coming up to northern Michigan to play golf, you have to have Hidden River on your list.
Yeah. When people come up north for that, John, is it usually for one destination, or do they do multiple properties? If they're spending a week at one facility and taking advantage of some kind of a deal there, that might be a little different. But do you get people who are playing Hidden River one day and then other courses other days?
Yeah, typically, if you look at this area, there are a number of fabulous courses. So there's a lot of people that come from downstate, Chicago area. They come up here for 3-4 days, even a week, to play multiple courses. And I always tell people, if you're coming up here, you have to play Hidden River. And one of the things that I love, Jack, is that I try to talk to people as they're coming off the course. A lot of times it'll be first-timers, and I just love when I hear, we've never played this course before, we love it, it's going to be on our list, every time we come back up. And actually a couple weeks ago, I was talking to some folks that were coming off the course, and they said that they had so much fun and enjoyed the course so much, they actually were canceling playing at another course to come back.
Fabulous. Did they give some reasons why? I mean, what is it you love about the property? What will turn golfers on, so to speak, to really be impressed and make sure they come back again?
Well, Tom, it starts off, it is just a beautiful setting. And the Maple River runs right through the course. You'll go if you're going from hole number 3 to hole number 4, you're going to go over the river, over a covered bridge, through some woods, and it's just beautiful. It's breathtaking. It's a challenging course, but it's very fair, and I think that's what people love about it. And we've got 9 tees that you can choose from, ranging anywhere from 7,100 yards down to 4,800 yards. So it's a great course for any level of golfer, and it is the holes are different. So if you start on 1 through 3, they're near the clubhouse, more of a traditional style. Then you'll go through, like I said, over the river and through the woods up to hole number 4. And 4 through 9 are kind of set up on a bluff and are more of a link style. And then 10 through 18 are cut through the woods. So it's your typical, northern Michigan feel. And so you get really a different, perspective and a different feel as you go through the entire course.
Now, my memory tells me that Bruce Matthews III designed that course?
That is correct. And Bruce actually came last year and played a couple of rounds. And he was actually extremely impressed in terms of how the course had developed, because it had been a number of years since he had been there, and the condition of the course. And that's another thing that people love is, the course is in excellent condition, even starting in early spring. I've got a great grounds superintendent, Keith Kaiser. He's been Hidden River for a number of years, and he's one of the best in Michigan.
Michigan State guy, maybe?
He's a Michigan State guy.
There you go. Aren't they all? Yeah. John, when you talk about Hidden River, and I've played a lot of courses with Hidden Rivers to my eyesight, but not to my golf ball. That golf ball tends to find me anyway. Yeah. What made you get into the golf business? You've been very successful in so many other things, entrepreneurially. But what made you say, you know what, I want to have a golf property?
Well, Jack, it's always one of those things where you never intend to do something, right?
Right.
And it just kind of happens. And so I had retired from my full-time, executive work,
right.
And was spending my summers up here in northern Michigan, and about 3 miles from my house. And I would go over there and play as much as I could. And every time I went over there, I just got that feel of, calm. It's serene. Love it. The views are breathtaking. And So when I heard that it was up for sale, I said, this is something that I would love to do, and it's kind of a passion. And we've invested a lot into the course. I've owned it. This is my 6th season. We've completely redid the clubhouse, changed the restaurant. It's now called Travato. We have invested in putting in a turn grill and bathrooms on the course, a pavilion that you can sit down and eat at. So, it's really been a labor of love for me, Jack. I love just going out there and talking to the staff. That's another thing that people tell me over and over and over again, that we've got some of the best staff that they've ever seen at a golf course, and I love to hear that.
John, you talked about your experience in the corporate world. Are you the only guy who went from 6 flags to 18 flags?
That's great. Yeah, I think I probably am, Jack. And it was Six Flags obviously is in the hospitality industry, so that's a little bit in my blood. So, I own a few restaurants up here that are close by to the Hidden River. And like I said, owning Hidden River has just been a dream for me.
I hear all the time from people like yourself who really had no plans to get into the golf industry, but ended up doing it, that it turned out to be a lot more work than they thought. You're almost married to it in some ways, depending on how involved you do or don't want to get. But what have you learned about golf course management that maybe really surprised you and took you off guard?
Well, I think I have been surprised in terms of the amount of work that it takes. I joke with people, and I say I'd play more golf if I didn't own a golf course.
Right. Absolutely.
I would say probably the one thing that kind of hit me the most was just the amount of things you have to do to keep the level of a golf course up. And it's not just having a great superintendent and great staff underneath him, but there's a lot of investments that you have to make in a golf course, and people don't see that when they go out and play. But there's a lot of things from making sure that obviously the conditions of the fairways and greens are in perfect shape, but also the sand traps, and people don't realize how much work actually goes in to maintaining a golf course.
Yeah, John, I'm planning to do a story sometime in the next 6 months, maybe a column, I should call it, in my magazine about answering the question, why is golf so expensive? And there's always a percentage of golfers who only play on price. But what I want to try to educate people on is that when golf courses raise their dollar amount to play, a greens fee, rarely does it go into profit. A lot of times they're adding holes, or they're renovating, or they're investing back into the course. You can speak for yourself or any of the other courses you want, like in Northern Michigan. What are you seeing on that subject?
Yeah, Tom, I think you're absolutely correct on that. I think most of the profits, not all the profits, are generally put back into the courses, and honestly, that's typically what we have done as well. It has become. I talked about the maintenance that goes into a golf course, and the cost of carts continues to rise. And so there's, you don't get into the golf business to, make a lot of money. Like I said before, it's really a passion of love. Mm-hmm. So, unfortunately, we have seen, increases in the prices, but I can assure you that it's not, not making people rich. And what I try to do is at Hidden River is, to keep the prices, down as much as we possibly can, because I want as many people to come out and enjoy the course. Yeah. And I'll tell you, one of the things that really has made me happy is, like you said, post-COVID, golf has really taken off.
Right.
But what I really love to see is that more kids and more young adults are playing than ever before. And so, I want to make sure that continues.
Right.
So for us, it's all about making sure that we can, keep our pricing to the point where anybody who wants to come out and play can play.
John, last thing. By the way, we're talking with John Duffy, and longtime CEO of Six Flags, and now the owner of Hidden River Golf and Casting and Travado. And how many other restaurants up there?
I've got 2 more, Douglas Lake Bar and Steakhouse, which is an iconic restaurant up here, and the Brutus Camp Deli.
We know him, Tom, from all of his work, his generous support of the Shinsky Orphanage. Would not be what it is today without him. And every year for the MPH USA outing in suburban Chicago with the Football Legends Classic, John Duffy is a fixture for that, but also for his support of Michigan State. And, John, I would be remiss if I didn't give you a quick opportunity to talk about Kevin Guskowitz staying on as president at Michigan State and what that means for your school.
I'll tell you what, Jack, it means a lot. We are huge fans, my wife Becky and I are huge fans of President Guskowitz. And we were so happy when he made the decision to stay at Michigan State. He has done just a phenomenal job in the relatively short period of time that he's been at Michigan State. We are on a great path. So to have him continue to lead us through our capital campaign and continuing to really improve all of our schools. We've got he's brought on some great deans, a great provost. So I'll tell you what, it's a great time to be a Spartan, and I think all of us, all the alumni throughout the United States, are so happy that he decided to stay.
John, thanks so much for joining us. We will see you soon. We are heading to Chicago very shortly for Big Ten kickoff days, and we'll see you on campus, and give Becky a hug for me.
Will do. Okay, thanks, Jack. Thanks, Tom.
Hi.
Take care.
And the more you get to know John Duffy, he's just one of those people, a little bit like Kelly Dean.
Sure.
You know Kelly,
Love
right?
Kelly. And my mom worked with him.
Yeah. He's what I call someone who is, he always looks for reasons to say yes.
Cool. Very cool.
And a lot of people I know are always trying to say no. So
I have yet to play Hidden River, but I'm going to this summer and do a feature story on it. So
if we make a return trip up north, which you're not going to do this year, but maybe next year, have to work that in.
That would be absolutely. Right? And just down the road, the name is slipping. I think it's called Indian River.
Yeah,
it's a 100-year-old course.
Is that right?
Like 15 minutes away. So.
Yeah. If there's a 100-year-old course in the state of Michigan, Tom Lang will find it. Tom, thanks so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you next week.
All right.
All right. We will be back in just a moment here on The Drive with Jack.
Dean Transportation is looking for compassionate people to join our team of school bus drivers and attendants. Visit deanjobs.com to see all openings. Dean Transportation provides paid training to obtain a commercial driver's license, increased starting pay, comprehensive benefits, and flexible schedules with no weekend shifts. No experience needed. Apply today at deanjobs.com and train for back to school season. That's DEAN jobs.com.
Jeremy, what's the move when the kids say they're bored?
Easy. Family fun night every Tuesday at 1 North.
Free kids meal with every entree, so dinner is handled.
And we're not just talking crayons and paper menus.
Nope. We've got Battleship, Uno, all the table game classics.
Plus, all the big stuff, Amy. Giant Yahtzee, Connect 4. It's basically game night leveled up.
Kids stay entertained. Parents actually get to relax. It's a win-win.
Great food, family vibes, and a little friendly competition.
Family fun night at 1 North Kitchen and Bar.
Come hungry and ready to play.
Just minutes from Petoskey, Harbor Springs, and Mackinac City, golfers will find Northern Michigan's hidden gem on Maple River Road in Brutus, the Hidden River Golf and Casting Club and Travado Restaurant.
The course offers one of Northern Michigan's most memorable golf experiences, and Travado completes your day with exceptional dining. For tee times and dinner reservations, go to hiddenrivergolf.com.
That's hiddenrivergolf.com.
Jack Ebling here with my good friend Matt Sloan at Graph of Okemos. Spring is here, and so is good news for lease customers.
You got that right, Jack. Pretty exciting news, both at Nissan and Chevy. We have a lease pull ahead starting right now. So if you're bored with your lease, too many miles, close to too many miles, you just want to get out because of a high payment, bring it in. We'll get you out of your lease and get you into something more exciting.
Stop and see Matt and the gang at Graph of Okemos. They're making friends.
So, it's been a while since you've had your jewelry cleaned and inspected, right? Where will you go and who will you trust with your most valuable and treasured heirlooms? At Meadowar Jewelers' 4 locations in Lansing, Okemos, Jackson, and Portage, jewelry isn't just our job, it's our passion. Each and every piece entrusted in our care is thoroughly inspected by our trained staff against damage or normal wear. And we offer you, our customer, the highest level of quality on repairs and custom designs. Whether it's worn out prongs, channels, or shanks, it's all handled with incredible care. Meadowar Jewelers in Lansing, Okemos, Jackson, and Portage want to help you preserve your memories and offer you options on creating new ones. Come in today for the cleaning and inspection of your jewelry. We continue to work hard every day to earn your confidence and trust.
Welcome back. It is The Drive with Jack, the Spotlight Radio Network. Jack Ebling here with my producer, Boston Rob. It is a double Sean day. Sean Baligian and our next guest, outstanding columnist for the Detroit Free Press, Sean Windsor. Always great to have him with us. And you know what, Rob? I was thinking about a word to describe Sean Windsor besides gourmet. The word is fair. And I don't mean fair like average. I mean objective, open-minded, no axe to grind. You always know what you're going to get. And most people say, you know what? That's exactly what we want. Sean, how are you?
Not too bad, Jack. Always a pleasure. How you been?
Just fine. It's been a good summer. Won't be long, and one football will give away to another. And we'll have the Lions going. We have the Tigers, all of that. But that's not why I wanted to have you on today. Column you wrote, as usual, very well reasoned and written about the Michigan situation. Is there anything here that surprised you, or did you kind of expect this?
No, I don't think I was surprised. I'm not sure that anybody was surprised, at least in the way Michigan has handled this, the rollout, the sort of the parsing out of a little bit of information, what they call the summary of their findings of their report, basically saying there is no big, broad cultural issues, but on the other hand, there were some, what they say, weaknesses, structural deficiencies, sort of implied that there was, that people, some folks were worried about speaking out, speaking up when they see something, for fear of retaliation. And, it was interesting that on the one hand, the President Grasso said, hey, deepest respect for Ward Manuel. We're going to keep him around until December. He has to both leave and stay, and, he didn't say they're negotiating. On the other hand, we got to fix things right away. They're pressing, urgent things that we need to fix that happened under Manuel's tenure. So that's not really surprising, but that's, it's comical in a way, right? At least in terms of the PR part of it.
Yeah, I guess I was surprised by the word soup we got with some of this. And it started with, total transparency or a radical transparency. I said, if that's radical transparency, I hope that Domenico Grasso never buys his wife a nightgown. Because there's zero transparency in this. And when you have an investigation with a firm like Jenner & Block, and you're paying close to $12 million for it, And then you wind up with a summary of it, and I still don't know if there is a printed version yet. But this is kind of like the Mueller investigation when William Barr, releases his version of it. I'm not saying it's been distorted the way that one was, as we found out later, but it just struck me as so odd that they would do this, and then you wonder why, and it asks more questions than it answers. So I'm wondering if I don't understand the meaning of the word transparency, Sean.
Well, yeah, as far as I couldn't find an example of President Grasso using transparency, the word transparency, directly related to the hiring of the firm back in December. And, well, first of all, the firing of Sharon Moore, and then, the announcement that they were going to use this firm, Jenner Block. Mm-hmm. But I found the phrase radical transparency through a Michigan website where President Grasso was talking about, hey, we're the best public school in the world.
Yeah.
And that comes with a lot of responsibility. And this is part of our vision, and, please give us money. And this is what we're going to do, and we're going to do it with integrity, and we're going to, be who we are and affect the community, and at the local level, the national level, the global level, with, among other things, radical transparency, right?
Yeah,
so it's good enough for a sales pitch for donors. To me, it should be good enough for, the rolling out of a 6-month investigation into issues in the athletic department.
I guess I thought that there's a big difference between radical transparency and radical hypocrisy. And, Michigan has always seemed to want it both ways. It wants to be Alabama on the field and Harvard off it. But it's been its own worst enemy. And that doesn't excuse anything that's gone on elsewhere in the Big Ten, including just down the road here. Michigan State has had more than its share of embarrassing moments. But when you see a list of 24 quote-unquote scandals, right, since Warde Manuel took over, and he does deserve credit for hiring Dusty May, no question. That was inspired and led to a national championship. I don't blame Warde Manuel for Dusty May leaving. I don't blame Warde Manuel for Jim Harbaugh leaving. In fact, I know a lot of people who were actually kind of happy about that. But there was also the hiring of Juwan Howard. We know how that worked out. There was also the hiring of Sharon Moore, when a lot of people were wondering why. And then you get the statement here that there's no smoking gun, but there are things that need to be addressed immediately after President Grasso had told the world that Michigan had the best athletic director in the country. Sean, he did that less than 3 months ago. He stood up and said, we have the best now, maybe that's hyperbole after you win a championship. I will allow for some of that. But then to say, okay, we're going to have a $12 million investigation, and we have to get rid of this guy, but we don't have to get rid of him now. It's bad, but it's not so bad that we need to actually stop the bleeding. We're going to let this guy continue with this until December, and then he has the opportunity to be a special advisor or special consultant to the president. I've seen a lot of people get fired. And you know what they do? Security comes, takes them to their desk, and they clean out their belongings and get ushered to the door. And that isn't happening here.
Well, and right, and they're not. Michigan's not helping itself by not speaking. Right? No region.
Right.
No region spoke. The region spoke yesterday. Obviously, President Grasso did not speak with reporters and take any questions. Nobody's taken any questions. Not even no spokesperson has taken the questions, right, or had any kind of news conference. And to me, because of that, in the absence, what do you have? Speculation, rumor.
Right. That's right.
And hey, what does Warde Manuel have on Michigan? Right. I mean, that's the line of thinking, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it looks incredibly hypocritical. Why did they do this, Jack? Why did they spend the money? Probably, I don't want to say there's too much nuance here, but on some level, I'm sure it was a PR move. On another level, there probably was some genuine concern that, hey, we need to figure out how to get a handle when these things happen, because if you just accept that they're going to happen on some level, at least to some degree, if you're going to run this kind of, several $100 million business with all these employees and everybody having so many different agendas,
right?
Then yeah, you're going to have some issues. So how do we get a hold of these and navigate these issues more quickly, more effectively? Also to hurt the brand and make sure we don't hurt the brand as much, that kind of thing. So I'm sure the investigation and the announcement of that was, because it's not something they had to do,
right,
was both a PR move and a genuine effort to say, hey, how can we clean some of this up, right? Or at least handle it better when it happens.
Yeah.
And it feels like they haven't accomplished either one of those things with the way they've rolled this out.
And we did hear an interview with Sam Webb in Ann Arbor, and we heard Ward Manuel say he had no intention of going anywhere, except maybe to Chicago for the Big Ten kickoff meetings. That'll be interesting if he shows up. But when you think about that, and then suddenly, less than a week later, after the Board of Regents doesn't mention this in Traverse City, now he is out, and I'm guessing that this didn't happen in a matter of days, that there'd been some pre-discussion. He was aware of a few things. They'd had a few meetings. And whether they came to a monetary solution for this, he was owed $7.2 million, but the contract said if they bought him out, they would have to pay at least $6 million if they could, unless they could fire him with cause. And I don't know how you fire a guy with cause, Sean, if the president of the university says he's the best athletic director in the country, and then you want to keep him around as an advisor.
Well, it depends on what the report says, right? Which we don't know. I mean, because he said that halfway through the investigation. And to your point, he was feeling good that just won a national championship. And no, the whole thing. I mean, again, to me, it comes back to how are you gonna roll this out, right? And what's the university there for in the first place? And I wrote this. Any university there, right?
Yeah.
It's to share information. On a fundamental level, we're sharing information from one group of people that have a lot of information to another group of people who are trying to learn information so we can, they can prepare and go out of the world and do what they're going to do with whatever information they're most interested in ultimately, right? But that's the whole reason we have universities. Take away how they've been politicized in the last 10 years, whatever, wherever you fall on the ideological spectrum. That's neither here nor there for this argument. We can all agree that a classroom is there to disseminate, maybe not disseminate, but to share. I like the word share. It's less ideological. To share information. And Michigan is doing the opposite of that with this. So their core mission, their whole reason for being, they're kind of they're going against it by the way they're handling this. And they're not alone. And to me, that's too bad just for society in general, right? I mean, Michigan State's the same, Ohio State. Yeah. Universities act more and more like, corporations, private corporations for one, and unfortunately, it's starting to look more and more like certain branches of the government, depending on who's in charge of the government, right? It's all about, hey, we want secrecy, and that's too bad.
I didn't know that University of Michigan ever was determined to emulate Michigan State. I thought the idea was to be the leaders and best, and that's not quite what I've seen. But you also mentioned in the column, and I refer everyone to the piece in the Free Press that Sean wrote about this, very thought-provoking, that the most damning allegation, and doesn't have anything to do with Paige Shiver, it doesn't have to do with what's happened going all the way back to 2016, 2017. It has to do with whether Santa Ono knew about the sign stealing and suppressed the evidence, or didn't want this to come out, as has been alleged by Chris Partridge. And I don't know if the law firm looked into that. I would assume it did, certainly out there. But if they were not able to debunk that, then I don't know what they did for $12 million.
No, that's a heck of an accusation, and that basically the scandal was a lot more not widespread, but just a lot more people knew, and it went all the way up to the top. Right. And it's the president of the university had an act. I mean, who knows if this is true or not? There's an allegation in a lawsuit. Let's be fair. It's the word you use at the top of this segment, but yes, if the president of the University of Michigan was involved in covering up that, to me, it's there are plenty of people out in this state, obviously Michigan State fans for one, and a lot more people outside of the state of Michigan that look at that national championship as a tainted national championship, right?
That's right.
It's, but there's one thing from thinking, oh, you guys were doing this, and even with the NCAA's report coming out when did that come out? Earlier this year, late last year, I can't remember, calling it a KGB style operation.
That's right.
Forgive me, I was out a little bit through the winter, but even with the NCAA saying that, it's still one thing to sort of think that and assume that. It's another thing to say, oh, wait a second, the president and possibly the AD and maybe the head coach, and we're all involved in this and trying to cover it up. I mean, that's radically different. Now, almost everybody's gone, right?
Right.
So I don't know that the punishment would change, but it would definitely affect the brand for a while.
Oh yeah.
And fundraising. I mean, just think about how that story shifts, that narrative. Even though people think that, it's one thing to think it and assume it, it's another thing to know it factually.
Oh.
And if that's why that accusation is, to me, so crazy.
We know how impotent the NCAA is, and the bunch of eunuchs running around there, incapable of administering any kind of discipline without courts overruling them and without them looking even weaker with every case. But if a president covering up this kind of information isn't a lack of institutional control, I don't know what is.
Well, I mean, if it's true.
If it's true.
Right.
But,
if it's true.
But if it wasn't true.
He's not going to be able to investigate that. What's that?
With that charge out there, Sean, don't you think that would have been one of the items that they would have wanted in that summary? That Jenner and Block studied this and said that there was absolutely no truth to this. We don't know any more about that now than we did 6 months ago.
Yeah, if they did seek it out, I mean, it's also possible they sort of, in the course of looking at the cultural issues, found sort of accidentally butted up against some things, right?
Yeah.
Which, and again, it gets back to the main point of why they're not, at least why people assume, and I know assumptions are dangerous things at times, but why people make that assumption.
Yeah.
That the reason they're not releasing the report is because there's a lot more to the report.
Yeah.
That's a lot more damning than, hey, the athletic director is going to be gone after a football season, right?
Right. Well, if that's not in the report, then maybe Michigan should have paid $15 million and gotten that included in it. Sean, thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate it. Love to have you back on soon to talk about the Tigers. We got the Lions in training camp. The Iser plan is dead with the Red Wings. So much to talk about, and I look forward to seeing you a lot this fall.
All right, Jack. You take care. Anytime.
Sean Windsor, outstanding columnist for the Detroit Free Press. Again, I refer you to his column today. And you want to really understand as much as we are capable of shining light on this, and it isn't a lot we can shine based on what we've seen. It's a lot of conjecture. Be right back on The Drive with Jack.
Welcome to
Just minutes from Petoskey, Harbor Springs, and Mackinac City, golfers will find Northern Michigan's hidden gem on Maple River Road in Brutus, the Hidden River Golf and Casting Club and Travato Restaurant.
The course offers one of Northern Michigan's most memorable golf experiences, and Travato completes your day with exceptional dining. For tee times and dinner reservations, go to hiddenrivergolf.com.
That's hiddenrivergolf.com. Just minutes from Petoskey, Harbor Springs, and Mackinac City, golfers will find Northern Michigan's hidden gem on Maple River Road in Brutus, the Hidden River Golf and Casting Club and Travato Restaurant.
The course offers one of Northern Michigan's most memorable golf experiences, and Travato completes your day with exceptional dining. For tee times and dinner reservations, go to hiddenrivergolf.com.
That's hiddenrivergolf.com.
Dean Transportation is looking for compassionate people to join our team of school bus drivers and attendants. Visit deanjobs.com to see all openings. Dean Transportation provides paid training to obtain a commercial driver's license, increased starting pay, comprehensive benefits, and flexible schedules with no weekend shifts. No experience needed. Apply today at deanjobs.com and train for back to school season. That's DEAN jobs.com.
Jeremy, what's the move when the kids say they're bored?
Easy. Family fun night every Tuesday at 1 North.
Free kids meal with every entree, so dinner is handled.
And we're not just talking crayons and paper menus.
Nope. We've got Battleship, Uno, all the table game classics.
Plus, all the big stuff, Amy. Giant Yahtzee, Connect 4. It's basically game night leveled up.
Kids stay entertained. Parents actually get to relax. It's a win-win.
Great food, family vibes, and a little friendly competition.
Family fun night at 1 North Kitchen and Bar.
Come hungry and ready to play.
Just minutes from Petoskey, Harbor Springs, and Mackinac City, golfers will find Northern Michigan's hidden gem on Maple River Road in Brutus, the Hidden River Golf and Casting Club and Travato Restaurant.
The course offers one of Northern Michigan's most memorable golf experiences, and Travato completes your day with exceptional dining. For tee times and dinner reservations, go to hiddenrivergolf.com.
That's hiddenrivergolf.com.
Jack Ebling here with my good friend Matt Sloan at Graf of Okemos. Spring is here, and so is good news for lease customers.
You got that right, Jack. Pretty exciting news, both at Nissan and Chevy. We have a lease pull ahead starting right now. So if you're bored with your lease, too many miles, close to too many miles, you just want to get out because of a high payment, bring it in. We'll get you out of your lease and get you into something more exciting.
Stop and see Matt and the gang at Graf of Okemos. They're making friends.
So, it's been a while since you've had your jewelry cleaned and inspected, right? Where will you go and who will you trust with your most valuable and treasured heirlooms? At Meadowar Jewelers' 4 locations in Lansing, Okemos, Jackson, and Portage, jewelry isn't just our job, it's our passion. Each and every piece entrusted in our care is thoroughly inspected by our trained staff against damage or normal wear. And we offer you, our customer, the highest level of quality on repairs and custom designs. Whether it's worn out prongs, channels, or shanks, it's all handled with incredible care. Meadowar Jewelers in Lansing, Okemos, Jackson, and Portage want to help you preserve your memories and offer you options on creating new ones. Come in today for the cleaning and inspection of your jewelry. We continue to work hard every day to earn your confidence and trust.
Drive with Jack, the Spotlight Radio Network. Jack Ebling here with my producer, Boston Rob. Rob, looks like sun has poked its head out and not quite as breezy as it was when my hat blew off a little earlier today. We want to go back to our guest line and welcome in Jim Cotter. You know him for all of his work as a Michigan State pitcher and in the MSU administration for many years, director of admissions, and one of the all-time Detroit Tigers fans. Jim, how are you?
Well, I'm good, Jack, but how is it living with Boston Rob right now with the Red Sox winning 14 in a row?
Well, it's never easy. I don't actually live with him. You'd have to ask his wife, Pat, about that. But just being in the studio with him, you know, and we just try never to talk about Boston unless they're on a losing streak.
Well, you know, he and I talked about 2 weeks ago, and since then they've won 14 in a row.
Yeah.
So he and I may be talking a lot more.
You know, the thing about this, and he's not big on me talking about it, but there's something about Bostonians And, they're always, we haven't won a championship in 2 years. And, we lost a game last month, And, Rob, has any city won more championships in this century than Boston?
No.
No.
Not that I'm aware of. No.
I mean, what does Detroit have? They had one basketball championship.
Well,
they had some hockey championships, a couple close calls in baseball. And then the heartbreak of the Detroit Lions.
It's not like you guys haven't had chances, just not as many as Bostonians have.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Bostonians finished the deal.
Yeah, once they get
Detroit
in,
hasn't really done that recently.
So Boston, with this 14-game winning streak, has won from the all-time franchise record, right?
That's correct.
They're going to get that tonight?
Can get it tonight against a very and speaking of hot teams, the Baltimore Orioles are coming in, winning 7 in a row.
That's right.
So it's just not a foregone conclusion.
So, Jim, what about the Tigers now? Did you make it to the end of that game last night?
I did indeed, and I was glad I did. I tell you what, that ninth inning was something else. When Valdez went 3-0, I thought, oh boy, here we go. And I was texting back and forth with Dan Petrie after the game was over, and I said it was worth staying up for. Dan had a good time last night.
Oh, he did.
Doing that ball game. So, I stayed until the end. Those late starters, it's tough when they're on the West Coast. Chicago's not so bad, but, of course, they had the rain delay, too. But, it was a great game, and the Tigers are playing well. I mean, they, they're 12-4 in the last 16, but haven't gained that much, gained that much ground.
How well do you know Dan Petrie?
Pretty well. We stay in pretty close connection. He was really, really good to a young woman out in Pewaukee back in the 84 and 85 season through the Make-A-Wish program. And, thank God she survived her childhood cancer experience, and Dan stays in touch with her. So together we've kind of stayed in touch with Kelly Kowach, and Dan's just a great guy. And, of course, he's got a Michigan State tie, and he's been to our first pitch dinner a couple of times. So he's a good fellow. Does a nice job with the broadcast.
One of the nicest, most genuine people in our business. And, he's not caught up with himself. He's self-effacing. And the other day, Jim, he was in the press box, and I don't know if he saved Jason Benetti's life, but, he wears that glove there, and it looks funny, right? You don't see that many broadcasters wearing a glove, but he sure used it, needed it, and just nonchalant, he just sticks his arm out there and snares it like he's done it every day of his life. I don't know how many times during the season now he shags flies or does something like that with it. But, it was a pretty good play for an old pitcher.
Well, of course, the great thing about it, what's he do? But he gives it to a little boy down in the stands or with his mom and dad. So, I mean, that's who Dan Petrie is. He's a good fella and a good friend.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what the Tigers will do and what they should do now in the final 62 games. People think, well, you're in the second half of the season after the All-Star break. There's only 66 games left at the All-Star break. So it is a short second half or second part of the season. But Tigers are in position now, if they can win the series at Wrigley Field, split these last 2 games, and then they get 4 at home with Kansas City, and you've got some other series that look good. 20 series left. How many do you think the Tigers can win? Could they win 15 of the 20?
If they could win 15 of the 20, they'd be a lock for the playoffs. The only thing that worries me about this whole thing is there are 7 teams ahead of them in the wild card race, and it is so tough to climb over that many teams. And of course, that's not even counting the Royals or White Sox, or excuse me, the Rays or White Sox, and the Mariners are leading their division. So, I really feel good about it. I'm optimistic. I hope that they hold firm with Skubal, stick with him and Mize. They are playing such good baseball right now, and the month of May was such a dismal performance that I really hope they stick with the guys. But as you and I have talked about all the time, it doesn't matter whether you win the division. It doesn't matter whether you're a wild card.
That's right.
It comes down to who's hot in the fall and who's hot in October. And the Tigers, with that I tell you what, that starting rotation, I wouldn't want to play him in a short series, and I think a lot of Major League Baseball is thinking that.
What do you make of Troy Melton when you watch him pitch? Are you excited about his future?
You know, I really am. He is so calm out there. You know, you look at Melton, you look at Montero. There's a couple of young guys that are just so poised and throw so well, and they hit their spots so very, very well. I'm excited about those two guys. It's going to be tough to replace a Skubal. It could be tough to replace a Mize, but certainly those young men are close to getting there, I hope.
What about Framber Valdez? How much confidence do you have when he is on the mound?
I'll tell you, it's been a little bit of a disappointment. You know, he was so lights out for the Astros, and, you know, he is a little prone to the long ball. I keep waiting for him to hit his pace. He can give you, you know, I thought he'd be a little bit more of a workhorse than he's been. He's a workhorse of their staff. I mean, he's thrown 107 and 2/3 innings, so that's the most. But, you know, that's not a lot of innings right now as we're past the halfway mark. So, you know, you look at some of these guys like Montero and Flaherty and Skubal and Mize, and, you know, they haven't even thrown 90 innings yet. So they're going to be rested when it comes down to the playoffs if the Tigers can make it.
And the other guy was out there last night. I have been officially banned by my colleagues from going to a Tigers game that Jack Flaherty pitches because I've seen 9 of them, and the Tigers are 0-9 in those games. So the word is out when they know that Flaherty is going to start at Comerica Park. I have a restraining order.
Well, you know, Flaherty is so hot and cold. I mean, he can get 9, 10 strikeouts, and the next time he's going to walk a couple of guys and hit some guys, and he just he's very emotional, and once he's into his groove, he can be really, really solid, but he has been very up and down this year, and you just kind of wonder what happens come the hot days, the dog days of August and September, and how this pitching staff kind of comes together. I like what Holton's doing out of the bullpen, and it does look like Jensen's coming around. I mean, that thing last night, when he was 3-0, I just thought, hey, it's going to be tough to come back, especially against Bregman. And, boy, he did. It was tough. It was exciting.
It seems like just about every team, Jim, has a pitcher they believe in and a hitter that you do not want to face. But when a guy has 21 home runs and 63 RBI at this point in the season, also has 20 doubles, and he's playing the kind of defense that Dylan Dingler is, I think that surprised a lot of people who a year ago were talking about some of these prospects in the system, and they were going to be the catcher of the future. Apparently they forgot to tell Dingler.
Yeah, the old Buckeye has been tough, and I know you're a Dylan Dingler fan. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He was big last night. He, you know, his 91 hits stand behind just Green and McGonigal, and of course Green and McGonigal both have 103. But yeah, his 266 average. You know, the thing that's amazing about that, Jack, is catchers have to work so hard.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's almost a throw-in if they can hit, and he's just done everything. You were talking about the fact that he ranks right up there with some of the best catchers the Tigers have ever had, and the Tigers have had some good ones.
Yeah.
One season doesn't make a career, but I tell you what, he's well on his way.
Yeah, and I wouldn't try to say that he is Bill Freehan or Lance or even Pudge at the end of his career, but just for this one season, the numbers are pretty impressive. So where would the Tigers be without him?
Yeah, and I just like the way he carries himself. He just carries himself so well. He's so confident. I think the pitchers really believe in him, and boy, that's so important. And, you know, the guy that probably doesn't get enough attention is Jake Rogers. You know, Jake is not a big hitter, but he's a great clubhouse guy. Mm-hmm. He does spell Dingler every once in a while. I think the other guy that, you know, people are saying, well, is he going to give his money back? Is Justin Verlander. And I think Verlander is an incredibly positive influence in that bullpen and in that dugout in the clubhouse. I think he's working with a lot of these guys. Always fun to watch people sit next to him and they're kind of talking things over.
Jim, you'll appreciate this. Someone was talking about Dingler and Iron Man, and he plays every day except when they have an afternoon game after the night game, it's getaway day, then he may DH instead of wearing the tools of ignorance. But he plays so much, someone said, well, how would you spell Dingler? And I said, Dingler. It's not that difficult. But that isn't exactly what the guy meant, I think. When you, I wanted to ask you about what is going on. If you can make any sense of it, I'd love to hear it. This week in Ann Arbor, and we know about the institutional arrogance there, the smugness, the holier-than-thou attitude, which drives a lot of Spartans crazy. But the idea of all this transparency that they paid $12 million for, we don't get a report. We don't even know if there is a report. We're told there isn't a written report. But they have a written summary of it, which doesn't address some of the major questions. Certainly, if the president of the university is accused of stonewalling an NCAA investigation, and you have that kind of a committee report at that expense, I would think you would want to get to the bottom of that. We don't know about that. There's so many other things in this we don't know. I don't know, maybe $12 million wasn't enough. They should have paid $20.
Yeah, the whole thing is strange. It's not hard to figure out. I mean, I will pull no punches on the fact that, the NCAA gets so mad at the guys in Ann Arbor that they put Northwestern on, on probation. I mean, it's just, it's unbelievable, but I'm fearful that that's the point that we have reached in terms of competitiveness. And, I watch on social media and people say, well, everybody's doing it. No, everyone isn't doing it, and that's not an excuse. And I'm just really disappointed that the NCAA and the Big Ten hasn't simply come down and said, look, this stuff has got to stop. It's got to stop. And but, hey, follow the money. I mean, that's what it's all about. And the NCAA and the Big Ten, they're not going to cut off that money train. And it's really disappointing. And what are we showing these young student athletes? What are we giving them for an example? And it's just very, very sad. Very, very sad.
I get disappointed with the hypocrisy involved. And again, Michigan State has had more than its share of embarrassing moments. And, it can't pontificate about how to behave. But when Michigan State screws up, when Ohio State does, when USC does, then there's medicine to be administered. But Michigan seems to want it both ways. And if you have 24 scandals, 24 is the list now, in the last 10 years, how can you claim to be the leaders and best?
Well, it's. I guess you can claim it, and of course, if you say it often enough, maybe people believe it. Right. But there is no humility there. There is no sense of being humble and admitting mistakes. It's all about. I hate to say it because it's such an overused term, but cover up. I mean, it's. The fact that they claim there's no written report, really. I mean, my money's going to support that institution. I guess I'd like to know, as a taxpayer of this great state, are people following the rules? And I will say, Michigan State has had its share of problems. But
Absolutely.
Jack, the thing about Michigan State is, when it happens, we tend to cooperate with the investigations, and we tend to say, yep, you know what, we screwed up, and we're going to be better. And that's pretty admirable. But that doesn't seem to be the case down south of here.
Michigan State, Jim, as you know, has often suffered from a borderline inferiority complex. But Michigan, on the other hand, has a superiority complex, as if it's incapable of making a mistake. And, when it loses a game, why? What happened? It must be the officials. It must be position of the sun, the crown on the field, whatever it is. And Izzo's really big on this, right? And holds everyone accountable, including himself. And that's why he looks like he is so hard on his players, but they're driving for a standard. And if you can't meet that standard, then you have to admit it. That's the only way you're going to improve. You don't blame everybody else.
Yeah, I tell you, the more I watch Tom Izzo, the higher I hold him in esteem. He was recruiting. He was, I don't know if he's recruiting. He was obviously scouting players on Friday and Saturday down south. He was in Atlanta and then South Carolina. Flies in on Sunday morning very early, goes home, gets a couple hours of sleep, gets his run in, and shows up at the Legacy Foundation or the Legacy Celebration down in Grand Rapids. Right. And I mean, he stayed 2.5, 3 hours. Everybody in the place wanted to talk to him, including, Pat Fitzgerald and Mark D'Antonio. I mean, the guy he keeps us on the straight and narrow. He keeps us doing the right thing. And those kinds of leaders are generational people. And we have been so fortunate to have him. And they could use a few folks like that down in Ann Arbor right now.
Yes. I went to practice yesterday. They had the morning practice, and I was able to sneak into that. And when it was over, I walked down in the Ox gym, and he said, "What do you think? What do you think?" And, it's as good a practice as I've seen in July in 44 years. But, I wanted to tell him that he's got all the material he needs. If he gets a coach with a little experience, who knows what will happen. So,
he is so excited about this group of guys. It is, and he's trying to temper it. I think he's trying to manage it and control it, but he is really excited about this group of guys. And of course, to win it all, you got to be really good, but you got to have a little luck along the way, and you got to stay healthy. And all those things are the intangibles that you don't always control.
Jim, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Michigan State in the process of hiring a new director of athletics. A lot of people thought that you would have been a great choice for that. They've got some candidates that they are interviewing as we speak. And it'd be nice to see Michigan State get a direction with somebody who cares about the place. It seems like the people who have done the best job here from John Hanna on are people who really have that blood coursing through their veins. So look forward to that.
Well,
go ahead.
Yes, indeed. And I was just going to say, what I hope we find, and I think we will, is somebody with a lot of passion for the place. And, my time has passed. I had a great time at Michigan State. I had a great run. But, whoever the next AD is, it has to be someone with a great marketing mind. It has to be someone who can get the job done, but also has to feel a passion. They have to love the place. And people have to read that from them. And that's a tough one to figure out in an interview process. But I trust that it'll work and things will turn out well. And it's always great to talk to you, Jack.
Jim Cotter. We're going to stay right here, Rob, and welcome in Tom Shanahan, award-winning sports writer, author, historian, and a guy who has done more work than anyone I know to present the Michigan State story of integration and social justice, what happened here back in the 60s, and even a little bit before that, when you look at some of the black athletes who were here on campus before that was fashionable. And he is also, should note, another edition of Ray of Light. Right, Tom? You got another one coming out?
Yeah, we have a third edition coming out. In fact, the pre-orders, I think, were shipped out this week, today maybe, and there's some updated chapters, and then there's a new chapter about the Bullough family and their influence on Michigan State football, focusing kind of on how Max Bullough has come back to campus as co-defensive coordinator, and he will be coaching in the 60th anniversary 1966 Notre Dame-Michigan State game that his grandfather, Hank Bullough, was Duffy's DC in 1966. So pretty fascinating stuff.
The first family of Big Ten football, we call them, over 3 generations. And I don't know if we'll be around to see Max or Riley or Byron, and what their children would be doing. Be tough to imagine them wearing a different color. But when you think about Max and all of his contributions, Sunday night on Press Pass, we ran a video of Max introducing himself and his vision for Spartan linebackers. And if that didn't fire you up, if you weren't ready to go out there and try to strap a helmet on, you don't have a pulse. But I think he's going to be a good fit on a very good staff. And talk about coaching. And so often, Tom, we talk about the head coach alone. Takes much, much more than that to develop a quality program. And I think that was the first great move by Pat Fitzgerald, the naming of his assistant coaches along the way. And I say that because you have a piece now about two former Michigan State assistant coaches who went on and wound up in the then Big 8, playing for the national championship, the de facto championship game, but it was Thanksgiving, right?
Correct.
Thanksgiving of 1971. And correct. 5 years after the game of the century in East Lansing, there was one in Norman, Oklahoma, and a lot of people still remember that game and all the great players. They remember Chuck Fairbanks for the Sooners and the legendary Bob Devaney for Nebraska. And one of the most shown football plays of the 20th century, Johnny Rodgers' electric punt return. And people still, how did he get out of that mess? But you had a chance to talk to those guys, Rodgers and Greg Pruitt, right?
Yeah, both Johnny Rodgers and Greg Pruitt were a big help to me when I wrote, when The Right Thing to Do came out 2 years ago, talking about how Duffy Daugherty's fingerprints are on both the 1966 game of the century and the 1971 game of the century. There's about a half dozen games labeled a game of the century. The 1966 game of the century was the first one with black players.
Yeah.
Duffy, of course, had 20 black players, fully integrated roster. Notre Dame only had one black player because back then schools didn't want more than a half dozen black players. But both Bob Devaney, former assistant coach under Duffy, and Chuck Fairbanks, who played under Duffy, followed his blueprint upon becoming a head coach of recruiting more black players than they inherited and ignoring the unwritten quota. So they both had double-digit black players by the time their teams met in 1971, and that makes it the first game of the century with two fully integrated rosters. And that's part 4 of my series I have with video podcasts. And the reason I started that is with the 60th anniversary, people will talk about the 10-10 tie.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you that most of the stories will focus on the 10-10 tie. But the game of the century, the 66 game of the century was bigger than that. For one, it was the dawn of the TV age.
Yeah.
Record TV audience, 33 million. Satellite technology was available to broadcast it live to Hawaii and Vietnam. So for better or worse, it was the dawn of the TV age. A lot of times it seems like it was it's worse with all the problems we have with conference realignment and all that. And then, of course, the other thing that's major about that game that was all overlooked during the 1966 season was that Duffy was so far ahead of the rest of the country on college football integration. And a perfect example of that, I like to cite two of them, actually. Chris Schenkel would mention that Bubba Smith was from Beaumont, Texas, without saying a word on the broadcast about the number of black players Michigan State has compared to other players in Duffy's Underground Railroad. And then the other thing, the great Dan Jenkins, one of my heroes as a sports writer, in his Sports Illustrated story, his only identification of Jimmy Ray, one of only 2 black quarterbacks in college football, and the first black quarterback from the South to win a national title.
Right.
His only identification of Jimmy Ray in that story was he had a mustache. So that just shows you how the media missed the whole story.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to bring out.
I don't know Dan well, but I did have a chance to see him at some golf events, and did have a chance to spend some time with Chris Schenkel, terrific guy. Why do you think they responded that way? Do you think they didn't want to stir the pot? Do you think that was network pressure? Do you think that the socialization of America wasn't ready for it then?
So yeah, and all of that, and a lot of it was it was a long-standing custom in sports that they didn't want to discuss integration and race. They just wanted to avoid the issue. And if you go back, and people don't understand this because we celebrate Jackie Robinson so much. If you go back and look at those initial stories, the day during spring training, the season opener, there's barely any mention of him being breaking the color line at all. And if it is in the story, it's down towards the bottom. It's not in the headline. It's not in the lead or noted in the headlines. You know, imagine how that game would be covered in today's media. And they just didn't do it back then. Part of it was they didn't want to. They feared they were going to alienate their subscribers and advertisers, and the other part is that they were just the institutional laziness, and then also maybe the elephant in the room. They just didn't want to talk about it. They didn't know how to talk about it.
You know, you talk about Chuck Fairbanks and Bob Devaney, and I did not know Fairbanks. I knew a lot about him through George Perlis, but I did know Bob, and from Alma. I mean, he'd certainly coached and had a background here before he came to Michigan State. But Duffy placed him twice, told him, you got to leave. It's a little bit like Jim Tressel kicking Mark D'Antonio out of the nest and saying, you have to go to Cincinnati. And Mark said, well, I don't really know. He had a bad visit there. He got lost. And Tressel said, you don't have any choice, buddy. You're gone. You're out. And so he had to take that job, and it was the best thing that ever happened to him. And so Duffy placed Bob at Wyoming. And then he called him, and he said, how do you like Wyoming? He said, I love it. Yeah, we really got it going here. He said, you're leaving. You're going to Lincoln, Nebraska. So he was running a placement bureau. And when I went to a Michigan State Nebraska basketball game, okay, Devaney was still the AD. And so I went in and we talked about a lot of the old-time stuff. What people didn't know was that Bob had a little bar in his office. And it was part of his desk. He'd kind of pull out, right? And so I'm doing the interview, and it's probably 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. And he says, what do you want? What can I get you? He's going to make drinks, right? So I said, hey, Bob, I really appreciate it, but, nothing for me. I'm fine. I'm working here. And he said, come on. So he's trying to talk me into taking a drink. So he had one for him, and he had one for me. And he took care of both of them. And it probably wasn't his first couple of the day. So, but, he was such a important figure for that program, and then that spawned the Tom Osborne era. And to think that those two gentlemen from the mid-'60s on through 1997, so it was roughly 30 years. You're talking about 5 national championships.
Yeah, and the thing about Bob, when he went to Wyoming, and then of course, and he continued it at Nebraska. What did he do? He recruited Western Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. He learned that from Duffy, and he recruited more black players than he inherited at both schools.
That's right.
He got that from Duffy. And then Chuck Fairbanks, you talk about placement. Chuck's first job was with Dan Devine at Arizona State. Actually, I think it was with Frank Kush by then. I can't remember, but all three of them are Michigan State guys: Dan Devine, Frank Kush, Chuck Fairbanks, and Fairbanks recruited Charlie Taylor out of Texas to come to Arizona State, and then he went to Houston, and he was coaching under Bill Yeoman. And Bill Yeoman, Duffy assistant, desegregated Houston's program in 1964 with Warren McVay. So these guys were following Duffy's blueprint. And that makes Duffy's influence on college football integration. It's not a Michigan State story. It's a national story. It's coast to coast. And it also extends, his coaching tree also extends to 3 of the most successful black coaches in college and NFL history. You got Jimmy Ray and Sherman Lewis, both honored by the Pro Football Hall of Fame with their NFL Awards of Excellence.
Yeah.
for their long-time careers, even though they didn't get a fair chance to be a head coach.
Right.
And then, of course, Tyrone Willingham, the first black coach to take a team to the Rose Bowl with Stanford, and then the first black coach in any sport at Notre Dame. And you don't hear these stories. There isn't anybody that has a coaching tree like Duffy Daugherty.
It's an amazing story, and it isn't told enough. You certainly do everything you can and do it very well to educate the public about this. I wish there was a way that Michigan State would be more active in this process.
Yeah, we need to find us an ambassador to help us with this documentary, and that's what we've been trying to do for a while now. And my colleagues are confident we're going to get there. Once we get the first investment, the others will follow.
Tell our listeners about the documentary plan and what you have in the works, Tom.
Well, it'll be a 4-part series, and it'll talk about Duffy Daugherty going back to his days at Syracuse when he played with Wilmeth Sadat Singh, who was a black quarterback forced to sit out the game at Maryland in 1937 because back then they had what was called a gentleman's agreement. If you were a black player, the Northern School of black players, and you came to the South, you couldn't play them. And Syracuse acquiesced and benched Wilmeth Sadat Singh. Also on that team, these are Duffy's teammates. Duffy was a lineman. Was Marty Glickman, the famous New York sportscaster.
Yeah.
Marty was a halfback and world-class sprinter who made
Olympian.
The U.S. Olympic team in the 400-meter relay. And he was scheduled to run, but this is the Nazi Olympics with Hitler. And the U.S. officials pulled him at the very last minute. And so a lot of times people will ask me, why was Duffy so far ahead of his peers? And we don't really know for sure because Duffy wasn't a self-promoter. He didn't talk about it, and the media didn't ask him about it. But my speculation was he saw what happened to Wilmeth Sadat Singh, and he saw what happened to Marty Glickman, and that's the kind of guy he was.
You talk about the Daugherty tree, Tom, and after the 66-10-10 tie, Michigan State couldn't play in a bowl game because of the no-repeat rule, and Notre Dame didn't play in bowl games in those days. So the co-national champions at the MacArthur Bowl, neither of them played in a postseason game. And the next game for Michigan State was the first game of the 67 season. And who did they go against? Another Daugherty protege, Bill Yeoman, and unbelievable speed from the University of Houston, including Warren McVeigh. And I think Duffy got a taste of what he had done to so many other teams.
Yeah. Michigan State came into that game ranked number 3, and they lost 37-7.
Yeah.
And I have chapters on Bill Yeoman Sr. in The Right Thing to Do because his son, Bill Yeoman Jr., was so close to his dad. It was like talking to his dad when he asked him about this stuff. And Bill Yeoman Sr. was so grateful that Duffy, he was trying to build Houston into a national program. It wasn't much more than a junior college program when he got there. And he was so grateful for Duffy to schedule that game. And then, of course, it backfired on Duffy with the embarrassing loss. But how big was that win for Houston? You know, this is obviously before 9/11 with all the security checks we have to go through now. When the plane landed, it couldn't pull up all the way to the gate because there were 10,000 people out on the runway ready to celebrate with the team.
Amazing. Yeah, those were the days. And when you think about the hand that Duffy Daugherty had in it, and yet you still find students on campus who have no idea who Duffy Daugherty is. I told you the story about where I park to go to Spartan Stadium. It's over by Breslin Center outside Izzo's office. And I'm walking in front of Munn Ice Arena behind some students. And a young co-ed says, who's this Duffy Daugherty? And the guy she was with, trying to impress her, said, oh, he gave a lot of money to the university.
Yeah, it's shameful that Michigan State hasn't celebrated Duffy's history more. If people go to my website, TomShanahan.report, and they want to watch that podcast with Johnny Rogers and Greg Pruitt, who both give Duffy credit for what he did, what he inspired in both Bob Devaney and Chuck Fairbanks. Notice I'm pronouncing Devaney correctly. Thank you.
Thank you.
They both talk about how much respect they had for what Duffy started. And Dan Devine, Frank Kush said he got a PhD in football from Michigan State. And all these coaches, they just had so much great respect for Duffy Daugherty. And one thing I want to add here before I go, before we run out of time,
right?
Like you mentioned, I've been doing this for over a decade. You'd think I'd be running out of stories by now, but I had a great story just last week about Johnny Rowland and his 3 levels of desegregating football in Texas.
Yeah.
Texas, a very racist state in the '60s,
Missouri.
and then he was one of Missouri's first great black.
Yeah.
He was Missouri's first black All-American.
Yes.
First black college football Hall of Famer. First black team captain. And Dan Devine was the coach. And then when his career was winding down, he didn't know what he was going to do. Dan Devine hired him at Green Bay in 1974 as an assistant coach. 1 year before, in the 1973 season, in a 26-team league, there were only 3 black assistant coaches. So that's what Dan Devine helped start, and it all trickles down from Duffy Daugherty.
Tom, thanks so much for your time and all the hard work you do. People want your stuff. Give us the best way to get it.
TomShanahan.report. I have links on there to order my books, and you can learn so much about the true stories of college football integration, which Johnny Rogers and Greg Pruitt both did. They got a better understanding of what Chuck Fairbanks and Barry Switzer meant to college football integration through Duffy, as well as Bob Devaney. And Johnny Rogers talks about it. He says Duffy had his hand in most of it.
TomShanahan.report. Rob, I want to thank all of our guests today. And we started with Sean Baligian, of course. He was the fill-in host, just the 3rd one in history in the length of Press Pass. Now we've had 668 shows. And Shawnee B did a great job, one of my favorite guests on this show, and one of the most versatile voices you will find in the city of Detroit, across the state of Michigan, actually. Also want to thank Tom Lang for another episode of The Long Drive, our weekly golf installment, brought to you by Hidden River Golf and Casting up in Brutus, Michigan. And our guest, John Duffy. He is a philanthropist. He's an entrepreneur, executive, really built Six Flags into what it is today. Appreciate that. Appreciate all of our guests today who are with us. We'll be back tomorrow, everyone, on the way out to Moneyball at Holt High School. Have a great night.